Hey guys, Ryan here from thecoolerbox.com, and this is my ice test for the Coleman Xtreme 52 quart cooler. This cooler is a bargain buy, selling for around $40 or $50 on Amazon.com. Links will be in the description below. And this rivals some of the really expensive rotomolded coolers like Yeti. So we're going to put this to the test and see how long it actually keeps ice and whether or not it can live up to the 5-day promise that they've got for it. I pre-cooled this cooler a day before with a sacrificial bag of ice, and we've got it filled to capacity with 6 of my favorite beers, the summer beer, which is a beer in Australia. And so we've got that filled up. We're going to test how long this keeps ice for, and I'll be opening it 5 times a day to simulate real world use and be coming back every single day to let you guys know how it's going in terms of ice retention. I've got high hopes for this cooler, and so hopefully it keeps ice 5 days or longer. Okay, so it's been 24 hours since we loaded up the Coleman Xtreme 5-day cooler with ice and beverages, and if we go ahead and open it, then we can see that ice is holding really well. I can see a little bit of ice drop there, but not much. It's doing much better than I expected, so really well done. I can definitely see this lasting 5 days here in the shade. We've got temperatures getting up to about 70 degrees. We've got our Coleman Xtreme 5-day cooler. After 2 days, we can see that there's still loads of ice in here. However, we can see, and it's hard because the lid automatically shuts, that I can kind of fit my hand down there. So there's a bit of a gap on the sides with this one. And so we'll see how that, I guess, affects the ice retention over the coming days. So day 3, after I've broken up all the ice, again, I'll move some of these beers out of the way so you can see, but there's still loads of ice in there. I would say at least half full still of ice. And if I dig down, I can't easily get to the water in the bottom there. So loads of ice still on top. This is doing really, really well. Way better than I expected. I would actually say more than half of the ice is still going in this one. So we're now at day 4 of the Coleman Xtreme 5-day cooler. And if we go ahead and have a look inside, then we can see that the ice is doing really well in this cooler. Go ahead, just break it up a bit. You can see that the ice is still above the water. There is some water showing, but it is mainly ice in there. So doing really, really well at day 4. It's easily going to go to day 5, if not to day 7. Day 5 with the Coleman Xtreme 5-day cooler. Let's go ahead and open this up and have a look inside. If we have a look inside there, you can see that it is still quite a lot of ice in there. If I put my hand in, that's still mostly ice all the way down to the bottom. In fact, I would say there's more ice than water in there, and that's still just holding the beers on the top. There's just enough ice to hold the beers on the top. So this 5-day cooler has definitely lasted 5 days. These are great conditions for the cooler. It's been low temperatures of 60 to 70 degrees, and the cooler has been kept in the shade the entire time. So Coleman Xtreme 5-day cooler can definitely keep ice for 5 days in these temperatures. I'll have to check it again in summer when it's much hotter, and I'll put it in the sun. Here we are on day 6 with the Coleman Xtreme 5-day cooler, and if we go ahead and open it, we can see that there is definitely still ice left in this cooler. We go ahead, there is ice still all the way down to the bottom. It's starting to get slushy now, but it's still holding ice extremely, extremely well. Again, this hasn't been exposed to the heat or really hot days, but yeah, 6 days still going strong with ice. I can see this going to 8, maybe even 9 days. So extremely happy with the Coleman Xtreme 5-day cooler so far. Here we are on day 7 with the Coleman Xtreme 5-day cooler. I wasn't sure if this would even make it 5 days, but opening it up, we can see that there is still a lot of ice in there. Putting my hand down, this thing is full of ice all the way down to the bottom. Obviously a lot of water in there now, but this is lasting really well and has performed way above my expectations on day 7. I wouldn't be surprised if this goes 10 days or longer. Here we are on day 8 with the Coleman Xtreme 5-day cooler, and if we go ahead and open this up, we can see there is still a great amount of ice in here. This cooler is doing really, really well. If I push it to the side, there are patches that just have water, but that's only if I really try. This still has decent amount of ice in it. This is going really well. It has definitely beaten the 5 days that they claim to hold ice for. So I'm really, really impressed with this cooler so far. Here we are on day number 9 with the Coleman Xtreme 5-day cooler, and if we go ahead and have a look, we can see there is still a good amount of ice in there. And it's amazing to see that this 5-day cooler is actually going to hold ice 10 days, if not longer. So it's done really well in these conditions. This is, has been a great cooler so far. Here we are on day 10 with the Coleman Xtreme 5-day cooler. Now this has been a huge surprise. I was actually skeptical whether or not this cooler would keep ice for 5 days, but if we go ahead and open it at day 10, we can see that there is still ice in there, twice as long as this thing is meant to keep ice, and we can still see there's still quite a lot of ice in there. So it's doing really well on day 10, might make it another day. I can't see it making 2 days, but yeah, 5-day cooler with 10 days of ice. Obviously kept in the shade, good conditions for it, but still very impressed with the Coleman Xtreme. Here we are on day 11 with the Coleman Xtreme 5-day cooler. Now, this cooler has completely run out of ice. There is no ice left in this cooler at all. However, I can tell you that I checked this cooler 2 hours ago and there was one tiny little piece of ice left in it. So almost 11 days with this cooler. It's done absolutely phenomenally well. And if we go ahead and have a look at the temperature of this cooler, we can see that it's around 32 and a half degrees Fahrenheit, or about 0 degrees Celsius. So just over freezing temperature in this cooler right now. Wow. Yeah, that is really cold. And so these beers would be really nice to drink, but it has definitely run out of ice completely, ending our ice challenge for the Coleman Xtreme 5-day cooler. Holy moly, did this cooler surprise me or what? I was actually skeptical whether or not this cooler would make it the full 5 days. I thought it was going to run out really early in this ice test, but wow, it has really surprised me, lasting almost a full 11 days. Now, obviously, I've talked about it before, but the situations were pretty good for it, kept in the shade all day. We had mild temperatures, about 70 degrees each day, so it wasn't really hot, but still, almost 11 days for a cooler that costs about $40. So this cooler has really wowed me. I wasn't that impressed when I first got it because it just looks like a pretty standard cooler. The lid falls down on mine, which I don't think would happen on every model, but the lid just won't stay up. But in terms of ice retention, so far, wow. That is all I have to say is wow. This cooler has done really, really well, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone who doesn't want to spend the money on a rotomolar cooler, which is obviously going to be better built and will probably work better in warmer temperatures. But for $40, you cannot go wrong with this cooler. I'll put a link to this cooler and some other size Xtremes in there as well if you want a smaller one or one with wheels. I'll put all the links in the description below. And if you want to see the full write-up of this thing, we'll go into detail the ins and outs of all of it. Go to thecoolerbox.com/Xtreme, Xtreme, and you can go ahead and check it out over there. So yeah, I am really impressed with how well this did in the ice test challenge. almost 11 days, and I didn't even think that it would make 5. So this has been a really exciting ice test challenge to do. I'm from thecoolerbox.com. I wish you the best day, and until next time, stay cool.